I'm going to go off the board here and say J.K. Dobbins might be the move I'm most eager for. My colleague at Footballguys, Cecil Lamby, covers the Broncos on a daily basis. Like, if you're sitting here thinking this through, you're thinking, wow, they got a good look at RJ Harvey through OTAs, and then they added J.K. Dobbins. Cecil Lamby thinks that Dobbins is there to be with 1A and Harvey the 1B. And that makes sense to me. So I like that.
What is going on, Shut Football family? That is Rich Hribar here with part 2 of my podcast with Bob Harris from Footballguys.com. He's the co-host of Football Diehards on SiriusXM Fantasy Radio Monday through Friday at 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern. Me and Bob did our first segment on kind of the news and notes that kind of came through so far to early July as training camps open up. We talked about, Najee Harris on the NFI list, the Rishie Rice potential suspension, and the holdouts with Terry McLaurin and Juwan Jennings. This segment, part 2, we're going to talk about some new players on new teams. So, Bob, I want to start some things off with you, factoring in costs, kind of which players on new teams that you're kind of, most excited about. And we'll start with quarterback, which is not the sexiest group of names, Bob, I'll be honest, because good quarterbacks don't change teams very often. So we got to make do here. So you tell me which quarterback changing teams that you are kind of the most excited about from a fantasy football stance.
And you look at the list. I mean, Justin Fields has to come immediately to mind just for the rushing equity, right? Like, you look at the rest of them, like, I'm okay with pretty much everybody who moved. They're all like appropriately priced, I would say, at quarterback at least. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not excited about, but like, if I got stuck at the tail end of a draft, or I need a quarterback 3 and or even a late 2 in a super flex, I'd be great. Sam Darnold, I have trust issues with the offensive line play in Seattle over the course of time, and Jalen Milroe's there. Maybe it's my over enthusiasm for Jalen Milroe's rushing upside that has me almost wish casting bad things for Sam Darnold. I apologize, Sam. Geno Smith, I think he's a solid play. I think he's maybe a little overlooked. And Daniel Jones. Just hearing today that Anthony Richardson seems like he's going to be okay, so the competition's on. I won't be surprised if either of them win, but I think Fields is the play here, just due to the rushing equity. Rich goes into an offense. Tanner Engstrom, formerly with the Detroit Lions, passing game coordinator. I don't expect huge things passing. And Garrett Wilson, I hope it works out well for you. It worked out okay for DJ Moore in his first season in Chicago. He had a wide receiver 6 season. Most of those games with Justin Fields. Tyson Bagent chipped in a little bit, but most of that was with him. He has some history. Wilson and Fields have some history together, but I think it's just the rushing equity that makes it really easy for me to have him. I know he's not I'm higher on him than the Football Guys projections. They're not as keen, but I think you're starting to see him go at the tail end of the quarterback ones. I see it often in drafts, just people playing for that upside. And part of that is the availability of just a broad range of quarterback 2 prospects that you could easily go and get on the cheap and feel comfortable at least having if something goes wrong for Fields.
Yeah, I've made the commentary of if you look at anyone in the industry's kind of rankings, and someone is like, hey, your QB8's my QB18, I'd say, sure. It's just like you said, it's once you kind of clear that little mini pocket of Burrow and Mahomes, it's kind of wide open. So if you tell me you have a favorite player of those groups, and even if I might be lower in specific rankings, I totally understand from a tier perspective. It's kind of pick your poison out of all of those guys, right? Some people might like Bo Nix, some might like Baker Mayfield, some might like Jordan Love, which I think is more of a testament. Just you shouldn't be aggressive when that tier ends. When Mahomes goes, you shouldn't be quick to QB7 in your draft. You've got a lot of flexibility, I think. And I think that's what that tier highlights, is that you can continue to wait at the position. We do not have a great list of running backs changing teams. Obviously, Jordan Mason's kind of our top player. So if you do want to include Jordan Mason, that's fine. But I will allow you to include the rookies in this as well. So a little curveball here, unless you have another sleeper that maybe changed teams. So if you have a favorite rookie out of the mid-round guys, because I'm not going to let you off the hook and say Ashton Jeanty or even Amari and Hampton.
No, absolutely not. I will go off the board a little bit here, but I think Jordan Mason, what do we covet? We covet what we see. We'll go with the Hannibal Lecter school of fantasy football, right? And the Vikings got torn asunder by one Jordan Mason last year, right? So they know what he's capable of. They also paid Aaron Jones a heck of a lot of money this year, and this guy coming off, I think he had a career high in touches, was on the field. I don't know if he was healthy the entire season, but stayed on the field. So I do think contingent upside wise, I love Jordan Mason where he is. And I think over the course of time, I like him there too. Of the youngsters coming in, I mean, I like Caleb Johnson's growing on me. I think the price isn't exorbitant, but the one who's not is RJ Harvey. And so I'm going to go off the board here and say J.K. Dobbins might be the move I'm most eager for. My colleague at Footballguys, Cecil Lammy, covers the Broncos on a daily basis. Like if you're sitting here thinking this through, you're thinking, wow, they got a good look at RJ Harvey through OTAs, and then they added J.K. Dobbins. Cecil Lammy thinks that Dobbins is there to be the 1A and Harvey the 1B. And that makes sense to me. So I like that. Mm-hmm. But I do like some of these other plays. I'm not as keen on the rookies. I like Cam Skattebo a little bit just because I'm not crazily impressed with Tyrone Tracy. And if you're running behind a lousy offensive line, that seems like Skattebo's superpower, if you will. And I'm not as keen on Bashal Tutin, hearing some things from Jacksonville that don't encourage me. I think there's been some whispers that maybe even Tank Bigsby is the most likely starter. So I'm fine like playing them all at price. I think they're all reasonably priced. But for me, I'm going all in on J.K. Dobbins as a piece that looks like he's going to have a greater role than people expect based on current ADP.
Yeah, and I think if there's a favorite for goal line carries, it would be, Dobbins. I'm very curious to see how the pass protection angle works out, for RJ Harvey, who was one of the worst pass blocking prospects. He had the lowest, pass protection grade from PFF, grain of salt if you're someone that doesn't subscribe to that. But he also had the second to last pressure rate allowed too, in terms of pass protection. And we just don't see a lot of rookies operate in pass protection. It's just not something that happens a lot. And J.K. Dobbins was fourth in the NFL in pass protection snaps last year. So that's the situation I'm watching the most, because I think even most people that were high on RJ Harvey understood like he was going to get 300 touches, right? He's not that kind of running back. He's 205 pounds. He's more of a splash play guy. No one was expecting that. But if he starts to get pulled off the field in some of these passing situations, that does matter. Like that cuts off like the Alvin Kamara outcome, right? And I know that that's a pie in the sky outcome anyways, but that's the comp you always see, Kamara coming in the league with Mark Ingram.
I think you mentioned the pass blocking. I think that's going to be one of Tutin's two problems. The other is football. Had the problems in Virginia Tech, and then first touch of practice of OTAs drops the ball, but also it is the pass protection. That's like the overlooked thing. I'm old enough to remember Lawrence Phillips whiffing on a block that essentially ended Steve Young's career, right? And I think ever since then, coaches pay a lot of attention. The quarterbacks now cost like $50 million a year. It's a big deal, and protecting them is pretty important. So I think that's the challenge for all these guys. And I may have a little bit of a blind spot to TreVeyon Henderson. I know he's super talented. He looks fantastic. But I think people are overlooking Rhamondre Stevenson maybe to their detriment. Not that, that Henderson can't take over a lead role or maybe, even a dominant role. I'm not sure it happens right out of the gate, and I'm not sure it happens at all.
The New England situation to me is just one that is like a perfect marriage, because you look at everything Rhamondre's been good at and where he struggled, it just completely coalesces with what TreVeyon Henderson's good at and kind of where he struggled. TreVeyon Henderson was a guy, if you gave him a tarmac, is going to absolutely, hit you with like a 40-yard run. He changes the fabric of your passing game, but struggled to generate yards after contact. And that's like kind of where Rhamondre is. Like he's going to, Rhamondre was bad in the receiving game, and also the fumbles, right? Like, Rhamondre led the NFL in fumbles last year. TreVeyon Henderson didn't fumble one time in college. So it's like they kind of just, it's one of these perfect marriages where we know Josh McDaniels, no stranger to having a tandem backfield anyway. So I just think they both fit together. And like your best ball drafts, I think they both make sense. The upside outcome for either one of them probably is contingent on the availability of the other player. Whereas, some of these other situations could be a little bit more nebulous, Jaylen Warren and Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, Skattebo, and Tyrone Tracy. Those are situations that maybe end up, playing themselves out over the course of the season, where it's like, all right, someone may be able to take over. Right. So that's what's kind of fun about all of those situations. And those guys are appropriately priced like that, because you look where the first guy's going, like Warren and Caleb Johnson, like once one goes, you almost see the other guy go a couple picks later. Same thing with the Giants guys. TreVeyon Henderson is the one guy that has a significant gap to the other player, him and RJ Harvey. So that's what's interesting about those situations.
Football season is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and ride your roster all season long. And right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't-miss offer. Draft one, get one. Enter a lineup in the $15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another Best Ball ticket to play free for a share of $15 million, giving you a second shot to win big. It's easy. Just draft your dream team once, no weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. Across the whole season, every breakout star, every clutch play, every touchdown will count towards your quest for a share of $15 million. And if you're looking for someone to plug into your best ball lineup, there's nothing better to buy than year 2 wide receivers. Looking at wideouts that have been selected outside of the top 24 based on years in the league, second-year wideouts have delivered the highest hit rates for beating their ADP and delivering wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 scoring seasons. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million and get a second ticket to play free for a share of $15 million. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Wide receiver is pretty fun this year. We did have some movement at the wide receiver front. We had, Devontae Adams was the big kind of, signing after his release. We had DK Metcalf trade. George Pickens, moved as well. Stephon Diggs was a big signing. You brought up Stephon Diggs in our first show. Go back to that. And a couple low key moves like Christian Kirk and Josh Palmer, which I do think were good transactions. So do you have a favorite out of those guys or someone that I didn't even name that is changing teams at wide receiver?
Devontae Adams, my easy favorite here, goes to the Rams offense where there's obviously a need. Adams, to me, an immediate upgrade over the Cooper Kupp we've most recently seen for sure. Coming off his 5th consecutive 1,000-yard season. He did that across 3 games with the Raiders and 11 with the Jets. Ended up with 8 touchdowns along the way. And that's the key here, right? Since coming to the NFL, Adams has 6 seasons with 10 touchdown receptions with at least. And that's kind of a weakness for the Rams, is punching the ball in over the goal line. I think this gives. Remember when working with Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams was like the best goal line back in football. It's just like that. Get the ball at the 1 or 2 yard line. He takes a step back and a step forward, and he's in. I like that an awful lot. He finished the 2024 season as wide receiver 13. But in his time with the Jets, he was wide receiver 5, 17.7 points per game. I think. And again, Puka Nacua, he's not going away. He's going to be a thing. The Rams offense has in the past had multiple top 24 wide receivers in PPR. He's done that in 3 of Stafford's 4 seasons in Los Angeles. I think we'll see that again.
Yeah, I think even if he just, at face value or to occupy kind of the target share that Kupp had, it's an upgrade from a per player basis, from an efficiency stance right now. And then you brought up the touchdown equity, because that's been the one little bugaboo of Puka Nacua through 2 years, is like he hasn't really hit us with that big touchdown seasons, and he doesn't get a lot of end zone targets. I mean, Demarcus Robinson had 12 end zone targets last year. He's not on a team. Who do you think's getting those? I think it's going to be Devontae Adams as well.
For sure.
So I mean, yeah, I think it's a massive upgrade for him in that system. And from a system stance, it might be the best system he's been a part of too. Especially this Rams just try to focus on getting the ball to their wide receivers, which we do appreciate from Sean McVay. I love those answers. That's going to wrap up segment 2 with us. You can check out Bob at Football Diehards on SiriusXM radio Monday through Friday, 8 to 10. He's also at footballguys.com. As a reminder, you can go to sharpfootballanalysis.com, use promo code SHARP5 to get a $5 discount on the 2025 preview book or the 2025 draft kit. Look for part 3, where I'm going to get Bob's favorite late round players.